torque, feel the rush, engines roar, hear the hush. Fans united, racing hearts. In this game we all take part.
Good evening, everyone. It's party time in Vegas, and that's what's been happening with Toaster Talk episode 52 as we cover the race in Vegas. Red Bull might not be parting from a constructor standpoint, but we do have a world champion, four-time world champion getting crowned at Vegas. We'll talk about that and a lot more with today's episode of Toaster Talk with our panelists. We're seeing Vignesh after a while, George Russell on the podium after a while. Is there a correlation? We'll find out soon. And welcome back to another regular panelist, Naren. Kicking off with you, Naren, what are your initial thoughts about the Vegas weekend?
Okay, so in my opinion, the weekend went as usual with probably no much, in my opinion, no much of a fuss. Okay, this race was probably more focused on Max Verstappen winning the championship with a very close contender of Lando Norris behind. But of course, that we know for a fact that the drivers' championship was already sealed even before this race was starting. So that was there. We also saw the usual strategies of Ferrari not going very well with their strategies. Alpine was probably also not having some issues with their engine. But overall, I see that the race was like every other race. And now and this race was also a testament that, yes, even though we have a lot of others, there is only one champion for this year.
Yep, I think Vegas had a lot of star power, not so much firepower. But Vignesh, what are your thoughts from the race?
Yeah, so first thing is that I don't know about the star power and the firepower, but I really know that Vegas had a marijuana power. A lot of drivers complaining about the smoke and how they were able to feel the marijuana. To some drivers suggesting that okay, if a dope test was taken, they would have been tested positive for it, and that's what is the power of Vegas. The glamorous city gave us a wonderful qualifying. Considering the temperatures were low, we were able to find a mixed grid as to spice up things out. Of course, the equations were clear where Max had to be and where Lando Norris had to be. But yeah, overall, we had a surprisingly results. Happy to see Mercedes back in 1-2. Probably a good final ode to Lewis Hamilton as he departs from the team.
Yeah, and I mean, on that, Hamilton also had that cheeky note, right? When he was trying to overtake Ferrari, it was like, hey, those guys seem to be fast on the straight. And you're like, hey, in two races, you are going to be those guys. So I think obviously Mercedes finishing on a high with that 1-2, and Russell had no expectation. Even Hamilton mentioned that they just didn't know that how they got that race pace. They loved it. Whether they'll be able to get it again, there's no clue. But uh, while Mercedes had no clue about their race pace, McLaren seemed to, with the same engine, also have no clue about their race pace. What are your thoughts around that? I mean, Lando pretty much gave up thinking that he's ever going to overtake Verstappen, and the WDC was pretty much decided today. But what does it mean more so from a constructors championship? Because now that's the open question between McLaren and Ferrari. Ferrari did get a boost up today, but what are your thoughts, Naren, around the McLaren pace?
So one thing is very clear that, of course, in the second half of the season, Lando was fighting more towards winning the drivers' championship, and he was very close with Max Verstappen. With this particular race, we know for a fact that the WDC is at least sealed. So in my opinion, what McLaren is trying to do is gain a lot of points, so gain a big advantage between McLaren and Mercedes in the constructors. So at least they win the constructors. I'm not sure if McLaren has won a constructor at least in the last 5-6 years. But at least this time around, they will at least have the constructors. And if they have the confidence that they are winning the constructor, this will also give them a confidence next year that they can at least inch forward to to winning the drivers' championship. Now that they know the nuances of building a better car, so to say.
Yep, Vignesh, what are your thoughts? Apart from the fact that Red Bull's probably going to get more wind tunnel time this time, after having been years on the top and getting the least amount of time, and I think they need it.
Yeah, truly. For Red Bull, it's all about extending their constructor championship, and they'll do everything. But then it seems like a one-legged horse race where only Max Verstappen is trying hard. Once again, Perez being ruthlessly overperformed by Yuki Tsunoda in a tier 2 car of the same team, which is the sister team, V car. It really shows that how is the deficit between the two drivers at the top of the team, and that's really gonna hurt their chances for the constructors. If they want to take a lead on the constructors, they want Perez to perform, or like at least they have to bring someone else who can perform for the next two races, give them back-to-back points, and probably bridge that gap. Considering Max is already doing a fantastic job on the same. Apart from that, I believe that the main thing is that you see Mercedes and its allied teams were struggling in Vegas, mainly probably because of low temperature, and that when the temperatures are low, the airflow inside the engine decreases, and that's why we have historically seen Mercedes performing not that good in circuits like Mexico, where the terrain is high and the airflow is low. It has always been a pain point of Mercedes. It was able to see here, but then Mercedes took that option of the pit stop gamble, which worked well for them. Another thing which I felt was not working for Red Bull this race, though, was the rumors, or probably it's true that they somehow forgot their actual spec back wing, and this has been hashtag disproved by Christian Horner. But yeah, you never know. That back wing could have played an important effect in today's race.
Well, but at least Mercedes will walk away with this win, whether they plan for it or not. Speaking of strategies, pit lane strategies, or the lack of strategies, Ferrari is back to being what it is. Sainz trying to run with his strategy and not to the point Naren made earlier, right? Like he literally drove into the pit lane saying, I need to be boxed right now. And last moment they asked him to switch out. Uh, one, we've been highlighted that that's obviously a penalty, but surprisingly, that never came up. So either Ferrari through back channels was able to prove why they didn't deserve that penalty, or FIA decided to look away. We don't know. But the broader question also is that Ferrari was not ready for him in that pit stop. What do you think about the strategy playing out there? Is because Sainz is heading over to Williams, Ferrari is more focused on Leclerc, and that sort of friction came out at play over here, or there's something else boiling at the Ferrari boiler room?
Maybe I can start. If you see, they are very close to winning the constructors champions this week. So they have two races, and of course, we know for a fact that France is moving to Williams next year. But at least they can utilize the two races. He's not like he's underperforming just because he's going to Williams. He's still giving his best shot in fighting for podiums, fighting for even wins for that matter. In my opinion, what happened was a very big mistake from Ferrari strategists. And at one point, even Sainz was crying over the area, guys, come on, wake up. So that really shows the frustration that Sainz has over his engineers, and the engineers are probably flummoxed with whatever is happening there. So they could still do a lot with science, but I'm not sure why or what is behind the reason why they are doing all of these mistakes during the race.
Yes. Yeah. Vignesh, any alternate thoughts around that?
Yeah, so one thing is that when F1 broadcasted the radio message, right? It seemed like science was in turn 16. Now, turn 16 is a very fast turn, and then you enter the pits. And I feel that the speed at which science was dealing at that point, it would have been a reason why Ferrari could not react that fast, probably because of the speeds and the timings. But then overall, I see, the point is this: Ferrari were able to execute a strategy to some level that, considering Leclerc is in fourth place and they have been the second best team in this race, considering Sainz is in podium and Leclerc fourth. So in that way, yeah, Ferrari did a phenomenal job, I would say. But then, yeah, strategy-wise, they still need to fine-tune, and probably with Lewis Hamilton coming into Ferrari, if he starts taking call, probably the strategy might be better.
Yep, I mean, with just 25 points away after coming third and fourth today, if they have a strong chance getting into the last two races as we hit to the Middle East, Qatar and Abu Dhabi, where if they can hold it together, they can overtake and win the WCC. And as Fred's been talking about it, he's like all the focus is between Red Bull and McLaren, which allows us to quietly do our work. I think Ferrari is not used to spotlight, which is ironic, being such an iconic brand that has been winning over years. I think they've kind of forgotten that over a decade, but they always show these glimpses. So let's see how that plays out. Uh, I did want to get into a conversation about another surprise package that got surprised, which is Gasly. Front row almost, and then still starting off in the second row was a great start. But then reliability issues and he was off the track. Your thoughts about Gasly's performance?
Yeah, I can go.
Maybe,
Uh,
yeah, go on.
yeah. So one thing is that, okay, Gasly has time and again been a wonderful, phenomenal driver, be it in Alpine, be it in VCAP, or be it in the Allied ones where he was taking part. Gasly has always been able to put his best first. The second thing is that, okay, when the car is in an optimal region for him to drive, Gasly becomes a different beast altogether, which he was able to show. For the first time in many years, I was able to see Gasly being in synergy with the car. He was able to understand the car, get his braking points right, and do it properly. Up till the point when he suffered that engine failure, mechanical issues, right? Till then, also, like, Gasly was in a comfortable position to get wonderful points for Alpine. And this also shows one more thing is that, okay, the last two, three races where, like, okay, Alpine suddenly outperformed, became the best midfield team by coming first and second, getting some huge points, was not a one-off thing. It also resonates with the Alpine package moving forward. How far it has moved, only time will tell. But yeah, these glimpses come to show a picture that it was not a one-off which Alpine did last time.
Thanks. And Naren, any other thoughts from your perspective?
Uh, I was briefly looking at how Gasly was performing over the entire race. Practice one, practice two, practice three. He was at least in the top 10 in all of the practices, which shows that he was all. If you see most, there are some drivers who go do very well in one practice, does not do very well in the second practice, but this guy actually was very consistent throughout the entire practices, which means that he knows how the track works. Like Vignesh was saying, he knows where to brake, where to accelerate, where to lift and coast. But this race, unfortunately, which turned out against him, is probably not his fault. It is the fault of the engine itself. At one point, even the video was showing that how there was smoke coming from the back of the car. So if the reliability issues is solved, and if, let's say, we give Gasly a little more confidence, he will probably give Alpine a lot of points in the future. So they have to just capitalize on that, in my opinion.
Got it. And the one last topic I did want to catch up with on is, has Verstappen matured as a driver as he has become the four-time world champion, primarily based on the fact that, around this time last year, he would fight nuts and bolts with every driver for every position, and Leclerc and other guys would sort of toy with him around the DRS zone, get him to push forward, get DRS, and then jump leapfrog ahead of him. But in today's race, he actually did not fight with both the Ferraris, with Hamilton. let them pass through because he was like, I am not fighting the battle with them. I'm fighting the battle with Lando to win my WDC. And that seemed to be a very different Verstappen from what we have seen previously. Do you think that's come with the age or there's a different strategy at play here?
Can I? Yeah. So I would say that he has matured, but not completely. If you see in the last three races, when he was actually fighting with Lando Norris, you know how he was literally forcing off Lando Norris at every turn to make sure that he goes ahead of Lando Norris. In that case, we know for a fact that Max Verstappen will go to any extent to win the drivers' championship. Let's not focus on winning races because he's not been winning races for a long time and that he did not change. But WDC was his main focus. Here we know that he knows that if I get this much points, I will win. Or if I'm ahead of Lando Norris, I will win. So he was constantly having a check. Is he ahead of Lando Norris? Then I will save my tires, I will save my fuel, probably stay in the same position, not take any bold strategy with the pits, not go for even the fastest lap time because Lando Norris took the fastest lap time. Maybe he has that 1 point edge, but that doesn't matter as long as he wins the championship. So he, in my opinion, he played a little strategically, at least for this race, to make sure that he wins. But has he matured? Yes, but not completely.
Yeah, so I would echo what Naren said, right? Max has matured a little bit, but then completely no, for sure. First is that okay, Max also understands the limitations of his car. Till the last season, he had the best car. Like he can toy with anyone, play with them, destroy them, and still have a comfortable 20, 30 seconds lead and like enjoy the race. This time he didn't have that advantage with him. Now, what does that does is that okay, Max also knows one thing that okay, if he totals his car doing something like that, Lando can catch him up. And considering the current state of his car, he cannot afford doing that with McLaren being a better car than Red Bull per se. So he has taken that calculated risk first. The second thing is that okay, the qualifying was a done deal considering he knew that okay, the McLarens were struggling in quali, which translates basically to the race pace also. That okay, if your quali is not that good at high power mode, then that stable power might not be that okay, you are going to hit out well. So he knew that okay, the McLarens might not, and finally he knew that okay, racing and winning was not his objective. Coming before Lando was his objective, and he maintained that objective well. Of course, as said that okay, he would have been what we say frustrated that okay, he didn't get the fastest point, or probably didn't win the WDC by coming in at the front of the grid, getting the positions at the podium. He would have really wanted that, but he also knows that okay, his car has limitations.
With that, Sylvester Stallone, Rocky playing the checkered flag, and Hamilton being the comeback king from 10th to second position. The Vegas has been an interesting race, and I think it also has a most interesting trophy. Honestly, I like that trophy that they had, the colorful trophy that they got off today.
Yeah.
The car ride still seems like a long stretch because they have to go all the way to Bellagio. And it was interesting to see three drivers squeeze into one car and then Verstappen as well, WTC getting his own car ride to the
Yes.
place. Vegas has its star power. There were a lot of celebrities on it in the pit lanes before the race and after the race. I'm sure George Russell has a major party lined up, as we heard on the radio. They're like, let's party in Los Angeles. And he was like, no, 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 let's party in Vegas. He's making the most of his win today. With that, I want to thank both our panelists for coming in and sharing their thoughts about the Vegas Grand Prix. With that, we're going to head into a double weekend header to wrap up the season. We're going to be heading to Middle East. From the pouring champagne in Vegas, we're going to keep it halal in Qatar and Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
But we are going to be wrapping up the season. The WCC is still very tight. Most probably is going to go down to the wire in Abu Dhabi for us to figure out who is going to be the WCC champion. Most probably it's not going to be Red Bull, so we're going to see a new one after a while. But so stay tuned. Put in your comments, thoughts, whether you're listening to us on Spotify or watching us on YouTube. This is Close to the Talk, signing off with another episode.
The chase, it seems, will never end. Toast the torque, feel the rush, engines roar, hear the hush. Fans united, racing hearts. In this game we all take part. Acceleration down the line, echoes of the engines whine. From every turn to flag and pole, speed and fire in every soul. Champions rise and champions fall. Toast the torque, we heed the call. Every story, every race, fans together keeping pace. From the corners to the straights, anticipation never waits. 50 episodes, we cheer and shout. Our passion loud, we stand so proud. Toast the torque, feel the rush, engines roar, hear the hush. Fans united, racing hearts. In this game we all take part. Toast the torque, feel the rush, engines roar, hear the hush. Fans united, racing hearts. In this game we all take part. Acceleration down the line, echoes of the engines whine. From every turn to flag and pole, speed and fire in every soul. Acceleration down the lush, engines roar, he engines wash. Fans united, racing hearts. In this game we all take part. Acceleration down the lush, engines roar, he engines wash. Fans united, racing hearts. In this game we all take part. Acceleration down the lush. Acceleration down the lush. In this game we all take part. From the corners to the straights, anticipation never waits. 50 episodes, we cheer and shout. Our passion loud, we stand so proud.